All right, we are live. I'm Coach Doug's. With me, we have a special guest, Mr. Adam Willis, the president, founder of the Roofball Federation of America from Oregon. Mr. Willis, thank you for joining me.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure I'm not your first big interview. The Roofball videos have been circulating on YouTube. They've been circulating on Reddit even before then. And I'm sure it's been a wild couple weeks for you.
It's been insane. I think the video had it had 12 views before the Reddit post, and now it's got 560,000. I'm getting comments and notes from people in New Zealand and Sweden and Finland and all over the place. It's obviously an attention that I had no idea was ever going to come.
I did it for sure when I was growing up. I threw a baseball onto the roof and would try and, catch it when it's coming down. I think it resonates with everyone.
Absolutely, yeah, and it was the same thing roughly with me. I was a little bit older. It's funny, everyone has been saying, "Oh, he and his friends have been doing this since they were 12." I don't know if it's less cool, but it actually didn't happen until I was about 23. But the first time was I came back from a trip to Europe. My dad was a traveling salesman. He had a bunch of frequent flyer miles, took my whole family to Europe one spring, 8th grade. And I got a rugby ball and came home and had nothing to do with the rugby ball. And so I started throwing it at the pole. And after I did that for 2 months, nothing happened with it for another decade. And then some of my sister's friends actually were over, male friends, digging through the box of sporting equipment. They saw the rugby ball and said, "What's this?" 5 minutes later, we're flinging that and footballs at the chimney. And all of a sudden you got the scoring system was born within a half hour after that. And it's basically the same scoring system now, 25 years later.
Yeah. If it works, don't mess with it. That sounds, and again, people in the office have been talking about it. This is just a good old guys being dudes thing to do. It's like, hey, what's going on? I don't know. We have a ball and there's a pole on the roof. Let's throw the ball at the pole. Why not?
Yeah. Can I say 1 second that the idea
Sure.
that the guys at Barstool have been talking about this in the office is also a weird through the looking glass thing? Sure, that's happening. That makes sense 3 weeks ago, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not like this was just something that you just put together. You produced this in 2008.
Yeah, so the tournament was in 2008. We filmed Roofball for public access TV starting in 2007. We did it over about 4 years. And the DVD had been sitting in a drawer next to my computer for, basically since then, through a few different moves. And I just decided I got to get rid of this old physical media. And I ripped some of the old Roofball tournaments off of DVDs and put them on YouTube. And that was 6 months ago. And again, not thinking anything would happen. And like I said, 3 weeks ago, there were 12 views. And one random person who I've never met, and I just contacted him email yesterday because we want to get him on a podcast later. I don't even know, he just said that it was something he'd seen a while back and thought that it deserved some attention. So he posted it on Reddit randomly. And I started getting texts from friends saying, "Hey, that Roofball's blowing up on Reddit?" I was like, "I did not know that. No, let's take a look." And then like we were talking about earlier, the Reddit, that kind of, went up crazy fast and started to go down fast. And then about a week later, the YouTube algorithm got a hold of it. And it was this whole, it started to be like 2,000 views an hour. I was watching the analytics and it was just insane. Again, something that it had been watched 12 times ever. And you figure the public access audience in Beaverton, Oregon is not a huge audience. All of a sudden we got thousands of views every hour. It was insane. I think the highest we ever got was 6,000 in an hour.
That's wild. That's why I know I've been where you are right now. I took a picture a couple of years ago claiming to be this fictional video game football coach. And, and it blew up overnight. So I know exactly what you're feeling. I still come into work every day going, I'm not sure if I fully believe it yet. But that's awesome. So let's get into the sport. So we have a point system and everything. You said it came up, pretty organically within just a few minutes. How did that turn into from just you guys throwing it, creating a point system and everything to actually what we saw in the 2008 World Championship?
Yeah, so I think it was like summer of '98 that we invented the rules. And then some of those guys and I decided that we'd have a tournament right after New Year's in '99. And there were 9 people in that first tournament, but only 7 of them were intentionally there. The other 2 just happened to be there visiting my sister. We said, "Hey, guess what? You're playing Roofball." And so after that, I was still living on the East Coast at that point. So I pretty much would have a tournament every time I came home, which is usually once in the winter, once in the summer, World Championships in the winter, US Open in the summer. And I continued that until I moved back from ESPN in 2007. And after the first one we put on TV, that's when the ball started rolling a little bit. And we started to get people writing in saying, hey, I want to play, all from the Portland area, obviously. And then a handful of them, not even a handful, 10, 15 over the course of a year came and tried it out. And then some of them are still playing today. And one of them was one of my groomsmen. I've
Really?
flat out met him through Roofball, which is one of the biggest gifts that I've ever gotten from the game. But yeah, the biggest, we never grew over 24 players in a tournament because basically it would take too long. We got, a game takes about 7 minutes, and a Roofball tournament, 16 games. When you add in the TV side and breaking for lunch and all that, it becomes 3.5 hours. Yeah. So, growing is a subjective term when you're talking about something that's sort of limited to 24 players.
Yeah. What it was now, so limiting to 24 players, were there play-ins? How did y'all determine who was on the bubble?
I think that up until this tournament, where we have a pretty significant waiting list, I think the max that ever showed up with intention to play was about 27. It was usually more, hey, we're at 23. Hey, does your kid want to play? Hey, can I know your wife said she doesn't want to play, but can we make her? Hey, how bad is your shoulder feeling today to get to 24?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's never been a real. We had I set up a qualifier one time, and 2 people showed up for the qualifier, so they both were in the tournament the next day. But looking forward to the future, we need to start doing that more often.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, especially after this, have you gotten a lot? You mentioned that this is pretty much booked up your next competition. Did you get a lot of people in the past 2 weeks, asking at least in the area to come and play?
Yeah, there's sort of the 2 silos, right? One group knows where this is happening, and a lot of people in Oregon say, or in Seattle even, I'm a couple hours away. Do you have room? I'd love to come play. And then others don't necessarily know where we are. One group from Ohio emailed me yesterday and just said, hey, can we play? And I said, well, we're in Oregon. You want to come out? And they said, that might be tough. Can we have one here? It's like, yes, you can. But we do have a kid, and I say a kid, he's in his mid-20s, so he's not that much of a kid compared to me, is flying out from Florida. He's going to get our record for furthest distance travel to play. That's our furthest. 5 out-of-staters, I think, is our max. But yeah, a lot of people from all over have asked about the rules. Can I play here? How do I get involved? That kind of stuff. And I'm just trying to figure that out. The answer is yes, but I'm trying to figure out exactly what that looks like.
We talked about in the office about how cool it was when you were a kid, and what would make it even cooler being an adult and still playing it and making it a full production and taking it seriously. We saw the video. In the video, was it your sister that sang the national anthem?
Yeah.
And that's just making it a full production, having fun. We have Rough and Rowdy, and whenever we have other events like that, Big Cat sings the national anthem. We're having fun, so we take it seriously in that sense, that it is real and we put our hearts into it. But at the same time, we're just here to have fun.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so
ultimately, my thing from the get-go was, I think the more seriously we take it, the more fun and funny it is. Like I was bringing this up to a friend the other day. It's like, if we had the Super Bowl set out there with the 6 analysts, and then you turn the camera around and it's my mom's front yard, I think that makes it even funnier. Yes. By the way, Big Cat wants to come out for this one and sing a duet with my sister. She'd be fine with it. And we're working on a flyover. And
oh, really?
A Roofball style flyover there. I'm hoping to get like a little formation of Cessnas buzzing the house.
Yeah,
so, we don't want to be too big for our britches just yet. So that's one of our goals. But yeah, I feel like the better the production value, the more hilarious it is what you're actually looking at with that production value.
Let's talk about the game itself. Like I said, it is specific to the house. Is there a name for the house? Is it a field? Is it something field, something stadium? What do we call in the venue?
Well, it's the Roofball Federation of America headquarters is the grander name. Okay. The debate that's been going on forever is it the Roofball court? I think we finally settled on grounds this week, which is a little more highfalutin than it should be for what we're doing, but it's really the only thing that fits. But yeah, it's not like eventually it'd probably be, it's just a royal and ancient home of Roofball. It doesn't have a name outside of that at this point.
Gotcha. Okay. Are there rules in place that you're working on that will fit different stadiums, different, roofs? Are we working on that?
Oh, yeah. So we've played on a whopping total of 3 roofs during Roofball's history. And the only thing that's really important to me is that the pole's got to be high enough up there that rounds are not super easy. Because, they're worth 10 points. If the thing's halfway up, it's super easy to get in around. And the pole's got to be close enough to the top of the roof to have overs be a reasonable and legitimate possibility. But outside of that, ever since, we've played the first 20 years on nowhere but my mom's house. But my thought always was golf, baseball, the event, the rules stay consistent, but the venue can be tweaked and be quirky as it needs to be. But yeah, the basic rules, throw the ball, hit the pole, that's 5 points. Go around the pole, 10 points, you catch it, 1 point. Everything else, and over is -5. Everything else is house rules can go nuts.
Nice. Now, as far as the car, is your sister's Volvo, is that right?
Yeah.
Did they just keep that there? Was it like, did it hit the car and they're like, well, we'll just keep it there? Was your sister like, hey, I need to move my car. I don't want to getting hit with the football?
It's funny. I was trying to put together how we did that the first time and why. I don't remember why we left it there to begin with, except in the very first tournament, we used the trunk as a table for the scorecard. But I think it was just, my sister wasn't at the house and we didn't have the keys. So we figured we're going to play and we're just do it. And later on, we did have occasionally another car would sit there. But then as my friends got older and their cars had started to be more valuable, it started to be less of a starter to have a car sit there and take abuse from footballs. But the biggest problem is I put that -1 in there with the thought being that'll protect the car. People will swat the ball away from the car. No. Instead, they're diving and jumping and doing cartwheels and everything else on the car. And eventually the car went away. And part of it was because a player jumped and his butt went through the windshield.
Oh, no.
And fortunately, he was not even scratched. He was totally fine. But that was when we're like, maybe we shouldn't have a car there.
Yeah.
So I've told some other people, don't worry, the car is now living upstate on a farm with other older cars, just having a great time. So
having a great time. Okay, so the car is no longer in. Is there something there in its place that if you hit, it's a negative?
So there hasn't been, but we are considering bringing a car back for this one that's coming up on the 18th, because we know that there is a constituency out there that would be depressed if there was no car.
Yeah.
So I have some sources. Maybe we can get a little sponsorship deal with the used car lot or something, and then maybe put a little padding down, because as my mother points out, the people that'll be jumping on the car are 10, 15 years older than they were. And maybe not so much, with hospital bills and the like. She has told me also she does have an umbrella policy, so we're happy about that if anyone does get hurt. So I don't know. We'll either see the wide open driveway with better chances for catches and less chance of injury, or we'll bring a car back and just let the chips fall where they may.
Has anyone approached you about making this an actual league and having teams? Because I see the pickleball teams being purchased by LeBron James and other athletes. I want an RFA team. How would I buy a franchise? Is it too soon? Am I jumping the gun here?
Well, I think that the thing that's it isn't today. I mean, right now you get in for the low bargain price of about $0, and plus go buy some merch at the website. Nice. But I think that right now it's start a tournament and have your own events, and then we'll figure out. We got plans about how tournaments would ladder up, and you win this, you qualify for this, etc. But in terms of teams, I think it's an individual sport, so it ended up going NASCAR style. So I think, if there's the Barstool Roofball team and you got 7 guys that you send out there and they're getting their arms warmed up and, going through whatever training, you're throwing through the tire swing or whatever you got to get ready for it, or you're getting college quarterbacks in your stable, then we start ramping up the prize money and go to town. So I think the NASCAR model is probably the way to go. That's
awesome. I'm just in my head. I'm going through it now. I think we have some connections. We might be able to get some former NFL players out there throwing.
There you go. That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. Is it more of a cookout that happens to be roofball being played, or is it roofball and there's just a huge tailgate in between?
Well, a couple of key things there. First of all, my mother for the last 15 years, even though she knows we eat between the first and second rounds every time, that's about the halfway point, she'll always wander out into play and put her hands up. Usually she puts her hands up and is like, Adam, where's Adam? Adam, when do you want the food? And I have to take a pause because the woman lets me beat up her house and she cooks the food. And I say, Mom, 3 more games, Mom. We'll let it be known. Before that, we actually had an order form because she would come out in the middle of play and say, who wants a cheeseburger? Who wants a hamburger? Who wants a hot dog? Everyone had to raise their hands and she'd be counting everybody individually. And she'd lose count and start over and do it again. So we had an order form. Then eventually I was like, Mom, we're giving them food. Just whatever you got, cook it. And we'll put it out there. They'll eat it. It's going to be fine. So the cookout's usually about halfway through. And there's actually a significant amount of strategy that goes into that too. Someone on YouTube was saying, I got to go burger if it's between burger and hot dog. Who goes for hot dog? And I was like, no. If you eat a full hamburger during that break and you're still playing, it's going to weigh on you. It's going to be an issue. You're going to be sluggish. So many people have, after they get knocked out in the second round, said, I shouldn't have had that burger. Hot dog is that perfect midpoint where you're not hungry, you're not distractedly hungry anymore, but you're also not too full to play. I usually go like half a hot dog. Then I put the other half somewhere else, make sure I know where it is. I eat it afterwards. So, but yeah, it's definitely, you come for the food, stay for the roof ball.
That's awesome. I imagine now I'm picturing, if you see a player who's eating a hamburger at halftime and they're still being really successful,
short them. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's the old pictures of football players on the sideline smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. Well, somehow it worked for them. At least it's a stimulant. You see an elite player eating a burger, they're done. They're done.
Hot dog is the go-to sideline meal for Coach Doug's. I don't think I'm doing anything next Saturday, the 18th. Is there room on the sideline for a coach?
Oh, of course. Yeah, and I even, we got this former college baseball pitcher flying up from Florida. I think he could probably really use someone to show him the ropes and make sure that he's not, when the bright lights hit, that he isn't wither. I think that'd be fantastic.
Thank you so much again for coming on, and hopefully I'll see you Saturday.
You bet. Hope to see you. It's been a lot of fun.